Welcome to today's explainer. Let's jump right in. Today, we're exploring something deeply personal, a theme based on the writings of an author named Salima. Her work dives into a struggle that is honestly so universally human, yet kind of rarely talked about with this level of raw honesty. We're talking about mental suffocation, those invisible barriers that hold us back, and more importantly, how we can actually reclaim our personal agency and finally breathe freely. Salima wrote these reflections during a period of massive soul-expanding growth. She was peeling back layers of pain, confusion, and memories. And in doing so, she gave us this really profound roadmap for anyone going through the exact same thing.
So have you ever felt that weight? There are these moments in life when we find ourselves just completely tangled up in challenges that we can't even fully articulate. It's like a literal constriction in your chest. We feel this intense, heavy pressure, but we can't always put our finger on exactly where it's coming from. And the crazy part is, even when we do know exactly which circumstances or which people are causing it, we still tend to cling to this quiet inner narrative. You know the one, the voice that falsely whispers, "You have no choice." Look, we are all born into families, cultures, and situations we didn't pick. And yeah, for sure, those circumstances shape us. But they absolutely do not have to trap us.
Section 1. 5 Moments Without Air. Recognizing the invisible chains. Let's look at the specific, everyday situations that forge these chains.
Salima actually identified 5 very distinct triggers of suffocation that she faced. We've got another's vision, rigid religion, physical darkness, the cost of shared space, and draining people. Think of this as the agitation phase of our explainer, because, well, by naming these triggers, we actually strip away their invisible power over us. Let's break down exactly how these showed up in her life, starting right off the bat with the immense pressure to conform.
Consider the contrast here between 2 massive external pressures. First up, living under another person's vision. Salima's earliest memory of this suffocation was living with a mother who was absolutely determined to shape Salima in her own image. Her mom would actually loudly wonder why Salima couldn't just be more like her, or, like other people she admired. This relentless pressure to conform, it literally sent Salima running out of the house, seeking temporary refuge at friends' homes just to catch her breath. But she always had to go back to that weight. Then, on the other side, there's rigid religion. Later on, a very strict, forbidding interpretation of God was kind of forced upon her. God essentially became a cage that completely stifled her essence. It got so bad, she actually walked away from her faith entirely. Well, that is, until years later, when she found this beautifully inclusive, loving vision of spirituality that finally gave her the space to actually grow.
Okay, moving on to the third trigger, which is incredibly literal. For years, Salima lived in a home where, despite the blazing African sun right outside, parts of the house stayed stubbornly dark inside. And during the rainy season, it was even worse. That physical environment literally drained the life out of her. It cast this heavy shadow over her emotions and what she felt was even possible for her life. But here was the catch. In her culture, it was pretty much unthinkable for an unmarried woman to live alone. And honestly, she didn't have the means to move anyway. So she just endured the darkness. But surviving that gave her this uncompromising lesson. She realized that wherever she lives moving forward, it absolutely non-negotiably must be filled with light and space.
Salima perfectly captures her 4th and 5th moments of suffocation with this really profound phrase, drowning on dry land. Sharing living spaces with others, even incredibly kind people, by the way, created this crushing sensation of being trapped. It got to the point where it actually manifested in physical illness, no joke. She faced this ultimate breaking point. Hoard her money or preserve her sanity. She chose her sanity and finally took the leap to live alone. And finally, the 5th trigger. There were the people who just completely drained her. Just interacting with certain individuals left her with severe headaches, nausea, this absolute heaviness she couldn't shake. They were literally sucking the air right from her lungs. Recognizing these triggers essentially forced her to make a hard choice about exactly where she was allocating her energy.
That brings us to section 2, the ultimate pivot, discovering the core truth. Because after enduring all of these really painful experiences, Salima realized something pretty astonishing about who was actually holding the keys to her cage all along. My own mental shackles were the ones holding me captive in situations and relationships longer than they should have. Man, what a profound, stark realization. Yes, the external pressures were completely real. The cultural expectations were very real. But her own mind had actually internalized those boundaries. Her mind had convinced her that she had to stay, that she just had to endure. Long past the point when she actually could have just walked away. And that brings us to the absolute most liberating realization of all. There is always a choice. So the crucial point here is that beneath all the variables of our upbringing, beneath all that conditioning that makes alternatives feel completely impossible, this one fundamental truth just shatters those mental shackles. The people out there living the lives they truly desire, they aren't just lucky. No way. They recognize their agency. They chose to breathe. Section 3. 2 practices for freedom. How to come up for air. Let's look at 2 very specific, highly actionable strategies Salima used to actively pull herself out of the dark and into the light. Practice number 1 is the vision board, but, with a really critical twist. This isn't just about cutting out pictures of expensive cars or mansions from magazines. Salima takes a big piece of paper and focuses on how she wants to feel. She writes and draws the specific emotions she wants to inhabit, the places she deeply desires to live, and the kind of transformative experiences she's seeking. Step 2, she places it somewhere she can see it every single day, so it serves as this constant anchor. And step 3, it's a living document. She adds specific goals and even the types of people she wants to attract as she grows. This practice naturally aligns your daily actions with a much larger vision, which leaves room for opportunities and synchronicities to just naturally present themselves.
Now, the second practice is basically the vital, objective counterpart to that vision board. It's called mapping current reality. On a totally separate page, she honestly and objectively assesses the aspects of her life that are causing that suffocating sensation. Step 1 is identifying the constricting habits, the draining relationships, and the blocked circumstances. Step 2, and this is big, aggressively visualize the consequences of inaction, like what actually happens if absolutely nothing changes. And step 3, write a heartfelt wake-up call note to yourself. This reality check is intense, but it forces you to confront the barriers you've allowed to stifle your progress totally head on.
Here is the exact wake-up call note she wrote to herself. If I don't take proactive steps, my life will continue on this suffocating path indefinitely. Just let that sink in for a second. By facing the grim, unvarnished reality of her situation, she ignited the necessary, urgent motivation to make meaningful, immediate changes. It's a powerful jolt to the system, and honestly, sometimes that's exactly what we need. Section 4, the power of action. Choosing to breathe freely. Salima's ultimate goal in sharing all of this is to show that the solution is always within reach. And the answers, they lie within you.
She perfectly encapsulates this shift in perspective with a really powerful quote from Floyd Mayweather. Every day we wake up, we got a chance and we got a choice. Once she fully internalized this idea, it transformed her entire perspective. Every single morning you wake up is a fresh opportunity to rewrite your story, to challenge those disempowering narratives you've accepted, and to finally break free from whatever circumstances are suffocating you.
So, what does coming up for air actually look like? Well, it takes different forms for all of us. It might mean letting go of a partner who just no longer aligns with your values. It could be summoning the courage to finally leave a job that drains your energy and stifles your potential. It might require severing toxic ties that literally no longer serve your well-being. Or, just like Salima, it might mean physically moving out of a suffocating environment and seeking a place filled with light and space where you can genuinely thrive. You have to seize the moment, guys, and embrace the awareness that change is absolutely possible. I want to leave you today with this lingering, provocative thought directly from Salima's rating. What aspects of your life leave you gasping for air? Remember, every single day presents an opportunity to redefine your reality. You have the chance, and you have the choice. You deserve to breathe freely. So take a look at your own invisible chains. Grab a piece of paper and start reclaiming your breath today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Until next time, stay curious and take a deep breath.